My name's Don, and I welcome you to this video on the Aboriginal penal settlement on Rottnest Island. Aborigines have been occupying the Rottnest Island area for at least 10,000 years. Aboriginal implements have been located on the island which predate 10,000 years of age. Between 10,000 and 6,000 years ago, the sea levels rose, separating Rottnest from the mainland. Because the Aboriginal people in this area were not seagoing people, they did not really occupy the area much in the last 6,000 years. However, the island is still sacred to Aboriginal people, and they call it Wajimup, or the place of spirits.
And far from home, Aboriginal prisoners in Rottnest Island, 1838 to 1931. And there's lots of articles as well. Now the location of Rottnest. This Google shot shows the location of the penal colony on the island. An early shot. The penal colony is the circular building called the Quad, or prison, located in Thompson's Bay. This modern tourist map calls the prison the Rottnest Lodge. This aerial shot clearly shows the prison. The buildings at the front were used for the prison guards. A recent Google shot of the prison. A diagram showing the tiny cells and the layout of the prison. In August 1838, Constable Welsh was directed to take charge of 10 Aboriginal prisoners and establish a prison. Welsh objected to the settlers already on the island, and they objected to the prison. So in 1939, land grants on Rottnest were resumed by the government, and the island declared an establishment for Aboriginal prisoners. Access to the island was strictly limited, required permission. The early prisoners were in for things like escaping from custody, assault, sheep stealing, and petty larceny. A diagram of the first primitive prison located where the shops are today. A 19th century painting of Rottnest. Early exploration by Dutch sea captains led to the eventual naming of the island by the Dutch captain Vlaming as Rottnest, or Rat. The Quad, or prison, was built in 1864 to accommodate 150 Aboriginal prisoners and some wardens. The prison was closed in 1903, and the building has been used for holiday accommodation since then. The actual construction was undertaken by the prisoners. The first superintendent of the prison for a period of 20 years was Henry Vincent, who supervised the Aboriginals in building a lot of public works, including his own cottage. So what was life like in the prison? for the prisoners.
Between 1838 and 1931, Rottnest Island was used as a penal establishment for Aboriginal people who were sent there for such trivial offences as burning the bush, digging vegetables, or spearing livestock on what had been their own land. It's been estimated that there may have been as many as 369 Aboriginal graves on the island, and over 3,700 Aboriginal men and boys were imprisoned there. Prisoners' lives were harsh. They were kept in heavy chains. In 1846, a French priest described blacks of all ages being taken to Rottnest in chains. These poor unfortunates are sent there for the least fault, but their stay only serves to brutalize them. They were kept in overcrowded, poorly ventilated cells, given inadequate food and warmth, and suffered under severe brutality. The death rate was 10%. Influenza or the flu killed 80 prisoners in 1883. A state commission noted that the superintendent had fed the horses vegetables while prisoners suffered nutritional diseases. Superintendent Henry Benson was accused of beating and murdering prisoners. In 1875, the press referred to Rottnest as the black man's grave. In the 1880s and 1890s, black resistance grew in the Northwest against the white encroachment of ranchers. Blacks were sent to Rottnest Island on the slightest suspicion. 28 men in the vicinity of speared cattle near Carnarvon were exiled without a fair trial. In the face of criticism of such practices, the Legislative Council conceded that they had been illegally sentenced, but simply passed retrospective legislation validating the conviction. Rottnest, argues Green, became the final answer for holding those too wild and rebellious to submit. It deteriorated into one of the most heinous prison systems in Australia. Toussaint argues that colonial violence is the strongest recurring theme in the history of Aboriginal-European relations in WA. Some settlers felt that white survival required such harshness. The blacks were the ones who settled Rottnest. They cultivated wheat and fodder, tended stock, constructed their own houses and prisons, a lighthouse, and roads. They used picks to extract stones, salt, and lime shell. They even managed 9 amazing escapes between 1838 and 1916. In 1848, 8 men tunneled under the wall and escaped by boat. In 1849, many prisoners managed to reach the mainland in an effort to join an important Aboriginal cavalry.
And had to make do in the cold Rottnest winters. Nights were spent sleeping on a timber floor in terribly cramped and filthy conditions. Up to 10 prisoners at a time were crowded into cells, measuring 10 by 5 feet, 6 inches. There was no sewage. The cells were each morning. The smell was incredible.